and then your vent. So it's fill for the tank and the vent for the tank going up to the fill net. This is our line coming from our pump on the tank. A 3/8 hose, and we put a T in here, and that's how we fill. We always constantly keep this tank full. Yeah. Okay, the wiring's coming down from the inside of the cab. We're going to run along the factory wiring harness, which is here. And then we're going to go up into this area right here. And we're going to tie into, and I'm going to show real quick. See here where we're tying into the factory wiring. We use heat shrink. We use non-insulated butt connectors, and then we have this heat shrink, so we shrink it down so it's nice and sealed because it's got glue on the inside. So that's tying into the factory gauge, the signal for the gauge, and the ground for the gauge. So our module will display the capacity of both tanks. All right, so we go up there, and then we're going to continue running this along the frame rail. Our pre-drilled holes in the bed, and then our hose wiring goes up in there. Then also at the same time, we're going to bring our fill hose. This is coming from our transfer pump on top of our tank, going in, and we install the T, our 3/8 hose coming from our pump, going into the T, designed to keep the OEM tank at a predetermined level. We're using 1/2 inch grade 8 carriage bolts, and then we have the flange, serrated flange nuts. Torque those down to 32 foot-pounds, and there's 4 bolts holding this tank in. And then if you didn't have the spacers there and you just have the nut, you could rip it right through the bed of the truck. There's a 5 amp fuse in there. So they tie underneath one of the legs of the fuse. So it's a nice clean way of getting power for them. Yeah, this is a 10 amp fuse. Along with this fuse here, we go what we refer to as a keyed on power. So it's only getting power when the ignition switch is on. So it's not accessory, that it's only when the engine's running. Module is customer preference, and we just use the adjustable mount to go to the windshield. Serial number. And then your main tank is factory, aux is our tank that we put in, then you have a total, and then it gives you a status. It just keeps, it does a self-diagnostics on a regular basis. And then also once the pump comes on, it'll tell you that the pump is on. So you have a time screen. The next one is a flow test. That's where we're going to use to test and ensure the pump is working accordingly. And what I'm going to do is enter it. And then you'll see that it has start or cancel. And then I'm going to hit the start. And then you should be able to hear the pump run. Now in this mode, the pump will only run for 3 minutes, and then it'll shut off. That's a standard safety feature in case somehow you were in there, messed with the buttons and you ran it, it wouldn't overfill your tank. Label for the filter gives you the 3 part numbers. We use a Wix filter, but we give you a Wix, a Napa, and Fram part numbers for replaceable filter. The pump, like a low volume, we call it the 6 psi pump because it's a very low pressure, low volume. It's designed to, in 3 minutes, it should pump 1 gallon, minimum 1 gallon. Try to keep on the same schedule as when you do the filter for the truck, because it depends on how much you're using it. If you don't use this very much, that filter isn't going to get dirty. But if you're constantly using it a lot, I would go with the same maintenance cycle as the factory truck. Wiring's coming up, so we have power and stuff for the pump. And then these ones here for the sinium we put in, so we can measure, of course, the volume of the tank. And we just kind of keep that stuff tucked underneath there. Nice and clean. And of course we provide the locking gas cap serial number that's assigned to this tank. So we keep that for the life of the tank. So if 10 years down the line you got a leak in it, we can go back and figure out who welded it, who tested it. We try to keep track of that stuff because we want to keep it legal. One of the requirements for DOT to keep the records of that. And then let me just hold this back here so you can see from under grade 8 carriage bolts. So you can see they get nice and flush in there. And then you can also see on the driver's side, you can see where everything will penetrate to the bed. This is called a rollover valve. It's designed to let any vapors that may accumulate in the tank. It is diesel, so you don't get much vapors, but if you're in a hot environment tank, the fuel does put off some vapors, venting everything outside the bed.